Hello and welcome to episode 70 of the Youth Intake Challenge. This episode we've got a couple of things, a little bit of a formation tweak, a bit of a change in mentality in which players we're going to play in the first team, and that's kind of to try and make a change to the stagnancy we've got. We've kind of hit a plateau and we need to find a way to get past it. So I think I have a bit of a game plan for it. It's a bit risky, but we're going to go for it, I think, and hopefully come out the other side with a much better team. So stick around and we'll see what we're going to do. Welcome back. So quick whiz through the competitions then. So Premier League, we're in 13th place. We've got 17 points from 15 games, which isn't a terrible return. We're 9 points off the European spots, which seems a bit further than we were last year. So it's something we're going to have to try and buck that kind of trend and get back up the table. We've not been in terrible form. We've had some good performances. You can see there, Rakim Primus, who we'll look at in a minute, is scoring a number of goals. Sarkodie was doing well in the advanced position, but we're going to switch away from that shortly. In terms of the FA Cup, we've got an away tie at Middlesbrough to get through. I'm not going to say that's straightforward, but it's one of the easier draws we could have got. Carabao Cup, we managed to get to the quarter-final where we'll be playing Man United, so that's an opportunity. And actually, I think when you look at the clubs that are left in the competition, if we can get past Man United and maybe avoid Liverpool, there's a chance of us maybe getting to a final. So that might be something to look forward to as the episode progresses. Outside of that, we'll look at the schedule. And I think what you really take from this is we're just a little bit 50-50, I suppose. We kind of maybe win half the games, lose half the games. We've had some good results, like we beat Chelsea 3-2 at the opening game of the season. That was fantastic. Man U, we've got in the cup, you can see he's beat us once already, but we've got 3 goals against them, so it's not all doom and gloom. Beat West Ham, beat Aston Villa, beat Man City, but we have had a couple of losses. That loss to Fulham was a bit of a one I wouldn't really want to do, but the teams we've lost, we lost at Liverpool, Tottenham, Newcastle, Everton, so they're not all terrible teams. I mean, the Everton game, a lot of you will probably argue that Everton are terrible, but I'm always going to stick my neck on the line and say they are a really good team, and they always will be in my eyes. But yeah, the form, it has been all right. Looking at the development centre, we've got a huge number of players out on loan. They're doing all right. We've got Jesper Strids, the front runner in terms of average rating. In terms of appearances, Samana's played 27 games. In terms of assists, Batchelor's picked up 6 at Notts County, and in terms of goals, Gary Liebert at Huddersfield. He's got a little bit of an injury at the minute, but he might be one of our future strikers. So that's all going really well. We've got a lot of players out on loan. Lots of them will come back in the future and maybe feature in the team. Certainly we're going to need that to happen if we're going to make progress. Looking at it from an under-21 perspective, where you can see the ability, got a couple of players on 2.5, John O'Kane, Kinkeys. Both of them are going to leave the club. Just because they're never really going to get in the team, there's no point taking them out much further. We'll make some room in the squad. We'll invest our time and effort in some of the other players and look to get the high potential players coming through. But you can see behind them Bent, Samana, Joseph, Liebert, Dynan, Byrne, who's currently working with the first team. There's a huge number of players in there that are going to make the grade, so that's what we're looking forward to. And then in the under-18s as well, there's a couple in there. Josh Arish, a left back, to Jay Rivers. A bit of an iffy one because he wants to leave. He plays in an attacking midfielder role. I'm not sure we can switch to that because although we scored a few more goals, we're a bit vulnerable at the back. And I don't know if, when you look at the formation change and the player I want to put in there, if maybe we need to switch back to a defensive midfielder. But again, let me know in the comment section when we get to that point whether you think what we're doing is probably the right way to go, or whether you think I'm mad as a box of frogs and it's all gonna come up a cropper. So that's there. In terms of the finances, again, it's just rocketing up. Still haven't got any nudge towards a new stadium, and we've got no new affiliates, so that's kind of drifting off a little bit. Still devastated with the transfer budget. Still disappointed with defensively solid football, hence why we're going back to a defensive midfielder. But again, still positive progress in the most part. Transfer wise, I don't know if we've done any more out. We've probably done a couple loans, certainly. There might be another couple of players leaving. When we get to the end of the season, you will see a larger number leave the club than we have done in previous years. Coleman, Mulligan, 2 of them. Carr, I think, you're going to mind. A lot of them are going to go on loans with a mandatory transfer fee at the end. So I think there'll be a big churn at the end of the season, which is good, I think, because it's going to freshen up the squad as we move into next season and give them high potential players a bit more of an opportunity. Looking at the dynamics, we've got Canderton wants to leave. I've basically said yes, he can go. Again, more on that in the formations in a minute. Sarkodie wants to go. I've said absolutely not. I've got him for 4 years, I think. So 2046 is where we currently are. 2050 is when his contract expires. He's not got a minimum fee release clause because he's managed to avoid it. So what we're going to do is just hold on to him for the 4 years, because by that time he'll be 25. Another couple of players in the squad might have been up to his level. He might change his mind. We might get to extend his contract. So I think just holding on to a minimum of 2 more years to try and get him to push us in towards them European spots and get some players around him at a kind of similar level. I always think if we'd have kept Sodge and we'd have had Sodge, Sarkodie and OVA in the middle of the park, I think we'd have a fantastic midfield three. We've got 2 of them still, and we've got a couple coming through, so what we really need to do is hang on to these players and make sure no release clauses go into them. In terms of the squad, we're still at a 25. We've had a couple boosted up into the squad just to make up the numbers. So Pepra and Ward, who'd been out of back. Savinganis, he's in there at the minute. He's not, I don't think he's played any games. We just got him in the squad, playing with formations at the minute. Who else has come up here? Skiwa, he's come up with the squad as well. And I'm looking at giving Kutlu a bit more game time. So that takes us nicely into the tactics page. That's what we're going to go with. I'm kind of plumbing in a couple players who are high potential. So looking at that, 4-3-3. You can see I've put Lippmann, Primus, Svingadis up front. Sarkodie over in with Giwa behind. He's probably not ready yet. I'm just kind of penciling him in. Bukaroo on the left, who's getting more and more game time. Carter to be a long-term centre-half. Brewstad probably stay for a little bit, but there are a couple of players coming through the under-18s, under-21s. But that's what I want to kind of transition to. When you go back and look at the squad view, and look at the potential players, what I've tried to do is pencil in to that first team all the players who are high potential, and get them bedded in and get them playing games to try and realise some of these 4.5 to 5 star potential players. If we can build enough for them around Sarkodie, I think that's going to be what pushes to the European spots. Again, let me know in the comment section if you think I'm mad as a box of frogs, but I think getting these players in playing games and up to that potential threshold as quickly as possible is the key to taking the next step. Very difficult to do, I know, but I think that's the way forward. I think for the rest of the season, I'm going to try and shoehorn some of these youngsters in for as much game time as possible to push that development curve up as quickly as we possibly can. All that being said, that's you up to speed on where we are in the league, how we're doing in competitions, what the squad looks like, the tactics and the plan going forward. The only final thing to show you is the intake preview, which thankfully, for the first time in a long time, it looks like we've got a couple centre-halves coming through here at an A-level. A defensive midfielder attacking, so nothing at the central area, so that's going to be key in keeping hold of them. Don't really need a goalkeeper. We've had a few fullbacks come through in recent years, so I think and I think wingers and strikers we're all right for. I think centre half is the key one. So far so good. I think that looks promising for the next intake. If one of them comes out to be an absolutely worldie, fantastic, because we need them. But the difficulty is going to be getting them to develop quick enough to catch up with the players we've got in the squad now. So if anyone's got any advice and guidance on that, brilliant. The final thing I want to talk about is the personalities of players. I've always seen as we're going through the intakes, and we had a couple of questions in the comment section about maybe the personality doesn't actually matter too much in terms of your youth players coming through, and it intrigued me a little bit, because there was a bit of a misconception maybe that Driven is a really good character to have, and I would argue that Driven is a really good character to have because the personalities are all about hidden attributes of the game. Some of the attributes you can see, so like leadership and determination is in there, so Driven is part of that determination, but what's not in there is ambition, and ambition is tied to your professionalism. You're driven, you're resolute is a bit more about your how you can handle pressure, etc. Determined is how much determination you've got, not just in the game stats, but in terms of achieving your goals and achieving your ambition. So what I would say is all your people with driven, resolute, professional, fairly professional. They're probably, and it's only my opinion, I've got no real evidence to back this up other than the players I've got in the 23 seasons of young players coming through, that the ones who generally come through with driven or professional personalities are the ones that generally go on to make it. And I think if you look at the Premier League, for example, and we look at some of the players who are tipped for, we've had top goal scorer, so Mercier, a driven personality, and I'm not saying that he wouldn't get there without them stats, but I think that driven element is what pushes him towards achieving the maximum potential he can. So Mercier is a driven, Nadolny, resolute, again, another one that I would say is a good characteristic to have. We've got Raheem Primus, who's fairly professional, so it's another one of the ones that's got a bit of determination and ambition tied together. Who else have we got in Conan Ong, model professional. So again, I don't think it's any coincidence that the players at the top end of the game, the players with the highest average ratings, the players with the most goals, the players with the best stat development, are the ones who have arguably the best on paper personalities. And I think that's something worth taking into account when you're bringing youngsters through, because I think if you've got someone who's unambitious but he's got a high potential, it's not to say he won't make that potential threshold. I would just say he's less likely to, because he's not as driven to achieve it. Again, let me know what you think in the comment section. There's lots of videos out there. I've name dropped people like Zealand, etc., who dig into the stats and numbers and give you some tangible evidence to go alongside it. But I think personally, from my own experience in the game, and certainly from a developing youngsters perspective, I think it makes a huge difference. It might not be a game-changing difference, but I think it certainly gives you a good indicator of which players are the ones that are going to stand the test of time and develop to the place you want them to go. So that's it. That's where we'll end the episode there. I won't get too deep into it. Maybe in a future episode, if there's any interest in the comment section, I'll do a bit of a deep dive in it and see if we can pull any facts and figures and stats from it. But if I've got your own saves going, and just have a look at the league table like we did just there, and see what personalities the players at the top of the division have kind of got, and maybe that gives you a bit of an indicator as to which personalities will be best going forward. All that being said, I'll end the video there. We'll get to the youth intake in March time. We'll see where we are in the league, see how the experiment of player changes is going, see how the best of the youngsters have developed, if we've made any inroads in towards our dream squad. And enjoy your saves, enjoy your games, and I'll see you soon.